Welcome to FPTV New Releases, and today I'm privileged to be here with Francesco Dimitri and Mario Alberti, the creators of Cutting Edge, the Siren Song, which is being published by Titan Comics in English on November the 11th. How are you both today?
Cool, thank you.
Bad, all considered.
Working as always.
Yeah. I mean, surely work is the greatest tonic in the environment that we're in right at the moment, you know. So I think that's everybody who can work is in a pretty privileged place, you know, because it's great to have the distraction for one thing. Do you know what I mean? And we're going through some tough times right now, guys.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, you know, nothing changed very much for me because it's like that, and always in the cave working on the pages. It's the same even in lockdown. So it's the mood may be different, but timetables remains the same.
So true. Timetables are unforgiving, right? So no, I hear. So guys, what can you tell me about Cutting Edge, the Siren Song?
It's a story that we grew together. We got in touch via Facebook. I was still on Facebook back in the days, and started talking about creating a project together. And we came up with this idea. It's a story about music, art, and friendship, I would say, all that matters in life. It's a strange time to be talking about art and friendship, considering, again, the times we're going through. But I think it makes it even more important to focus on what we have and on the bonds that keep us together. And I like to think that our story, in general, Cutting Edge, is a lot about human bonds.
Yeah. That's a lovely way of looking at it. What is it? What do you guys love about this project the most?
Well, for me, it's been working with Mario. It's been really nice because it's been my favorite part. I'm not just saying because we weren't friends back then, but we became friends while working on the project, and they grew a very close friendship. And you know, it's a successful project, a project up with a new friend. So.
Yeah. So likewise, you know, I came to meet Francesco because I was looking for a book for my daughter to read, and I came upon his Alice in the Steamland, maybe in English. I'm not sure. And the fact is that as I was reading it, it was like I could really see what Francesco was writing. I thought, what a perfect story. So my first idea was to do some adaptation with Francesco of Alice, and then we started talking about, no, we need to do something new, something that we come out with that comes from us. So that's how Cutting Edge came out to be, and it was great fun and a great pleasure to work.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, in the book, the Dodecathlon brings together 5 of the smartest individuals in their respective fields. So did you guys take any inspiration from real life people for those characters, or did you consider any, you know, real world geniuses? Were they part of the DNA of those characters? How did you come to create the Dodecathon?
It's all biography, Andrew.
I realized it had to be the case.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, no. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Personally, I was always fascinated by the idea of genius. Because if you think about it, a genius is a real world person with superpowers. On the other hand, a genius is also a freak. And that's a theme that's quite present in the book. Because if you have that kind of smart, you are in many ways a freak. You are someone who's not able to live at the same level at which other people live. On the other hand, though, very smart people can be incredibly dumb. There is an interesting book about it that was written recently, but it is true. If you know very dumb, like dumber than the dumbest person you know. And to me, that's extremely fascinating because it says something about, again, humankind in general, about the contradiction that make a human interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah, for me, visually, I didn't really take from anyone in particular. It's not. I didn't have. Sometimes I do have an actors or someone as a reference for the visuals, but in this case, I really didn't. I really didn't. I think maybe with Mark it was Ewan McGregor at the start, but then sort of became me, they say. Which looks
Oh, come
like
on, it is your self-portrait, Mario. It's exactly, he is exactly you.
that's what they say. That's okay. I take it, but it wasn't completely intentional. At least the fact is that it's true. But this is true for every character. I do use myself to draw expressions. You know, when I have to something, you know, it's like that. I make the faces and I try to adapt them to what the character looks like. So I may do that for female characters as well. Truth is, it's easier maybe for female characters to completely change them and not have them look like me. And probably with Mark, I didn't do so much an effort to change him. So that's how it ended up to look like.
Well, something I was going to ask about your artwork is that I think that your characters have incredibly expressive faces, which is something that not all comic book artists achieve. But I think with your artwork, it's a very powerful element of your illustration. And can you share with me what's your process for actually delivering such a massive amount of expressivity in those faces? Is that something that you do without thinking, or is it something that...
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of the things that I enjoy the most doing. You know, it's and it's not only with, of course, it's more evident with people, but it's the same with the environment. You know, the environment is as much as a character as much as the other. So I try to have, you know, the backgrounds kind of act too. But the thing I do with people is, of course, I watch a lot of movies to try and characterize each one of our characters with maybe a gesture or a movement that renders them distinguishable from the others. You know, everyone, each of us has his own mannerism in speaking, body language, and so on and so forth. And I try to develop that when I study the characters for my comics. And then again, I do that. You know, it's when I'm drawing, I'm making faces because I do my best to act while I draw the people, and to imagine how they would, you know, use their body language to reflect their feelings, their emotions, and so on and so forth. So that's the thing. And I may take pictures of myself. You know, I try to really act the scene and take some shots with the webcam, and then try to incorporate the expressions in the comics, because it's important. You know, the acting, it's fun, and it's very important because it makes the characters real to the audience, to the readers.
Yeah, right on. I mean, it's certainly very real to me, and I think listening to that process, actually, it makes complete sense when you look at your art on the page.
Thanks. It's a lot. It's a big compliment for me that you get that, because it's indeed one of the things that I do my best to achieve, to accomplish.
Well, you're wildly successful with it, mate, and it's a pleasure hearing you talk about it. So, Francesco, what do you think each character brings to the dodecathlon?
It's not only about the skills. Of course, they have a different skill set. They are geniuses in wildly different fields. So some of them are completely dumb, as I say, in fields in which the other character is a genius, or vice versa. But more importantly, I think they bring a dynamic. They're all slightly narcissistic, slightly self-obsessed, as many geniuses are. And they all need to learn how to deal with each other, how to deal with people who are their peers. And they're not necessarily used to dealing with people who are their peers, who are every bit as good as they are, but all in different, and they're even better than that in different fields. So I think that what matters is that they bring a dynamic. You have someone who is an incredibly skilled social psychologist, so he's good with groups. He can understand groups. He's Mark, the character that Mario was talking about earlier on. He can understand groups. He's marvelous when it comes to group psychologist. He's absolute crap when it comes to face-to-face interaction. He's terrible. He can't ask a girl or a boy out. He just can't. He's terrible in peer-to-peer interaction. You have someone who is cold and aloof. You have kind of a James Bond character, but as we know, James Bond in real life would be, a slightly strange psychopath or something like that. And we'll discover something about this person, so on and so forth. But what I was really interested in was how they played and acted together. There is something that Mario didn't mention when he was talking about his process, and it's the way he observes people. Talking to Mario is an interesting experience. It's like talking to a psychologist, and I'm married to a psychologist, so I know what I'm talking about. He observes you, and is there, and you can see in his eyes. Then he's thinking, okay, how could I capture that? How could I make that into something else? And so he's first and foremost an observer, I think. And same goes for me, or I try to be. I'm interested in the way people act together. I'm interested in people as individuals, of course. I strongly believe that we give our best and we are at our most interesting when we come together, for better or worse. So.
That's very interesting. Very interesting. It's so modern entertainment. Sirens are often considered as mermaid-like creatures. But in Cutting Edge, you've taken that more traditional approach to the siren, a bird-like woman of astounding beauty. Now, did you both refer to traditional Greek mythology to create her, or is she your own unique type of siren, or is she a meld of the two? What was the approach that you took?
No, I think we did. The idea was to make reference to the traditional mythological figure that we had, and even the story starts in Sorrento, where which is exactly where the myth started. I can't. Maybe Francesco remembers the exact name, but we have a place on the coast near to Sorrento where the girl jumped into the sea and she transformed herself into the siren with the wings. Maybe Francesco better remembers me, or maybe better tell you the story. But the idea was really to get to the tradition, to the roots of the myth.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we wanted to get back to the original myth rather than getting back to the myth that were told upon the myth. So we were creating our own myth, of course, as you do, but we wanted to get back to its roots and make it grow again from there. And then again, my surname is Dimitri, so I have Greek roots somewhere in my past. So.
Yeah, of course. No, I think it's I think it's one of the most successful things about the book. I think it's a very successful book, but I think it's a lovely dimension to it. To ask you another art-based question, Mario, you were talking about some of your expressivity process, but with your art being so incredibly detailed, how long does it take you to complete one page?
It takes around 1 day, 2 days for each page.
Yeah, right. Okay.
That's the average. I try to do 2 books every year.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah.
That's the average. That's my average. Yeah. But of course, it depends. It depends on the page. You have pages that are more difficult, or pages where you have to start something anew, so you have to study beforehand. Where it takes place, how the characters are dressed, and then you can move forward, and then until the whole scene is completed. But the average is that. It's, let's say, 1.5 days for a page.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. And have you ever had an experience where you've drawn a page and then you go back to it and you're like, no, I'm going to do that all over again?
Of course, I would do that with every page. but you have, they say perfect is the enemy of good.
Yeah.
So that's you need to get to a point where you say it's okay. That's enough, because otherwise I would have been doing the same book all over for all my life, because it never ends. The fact that you can do something that it's better than what you did.
That makes complete sense. I mean, it's why tweaked director's editions of movies are often inferior to the original release, even though they might have the flaws the director considers to be there removed. They're actually not as good. The films in early was better in their original form. That's a very interesting point. Guys, what was it like having this story translated from... I'm actually, Francesco, I'm very interested. The book was published in French, right? And at Titan, we're publishing it in English for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So what language did you write it in?
I wrote it in English.
Right, okay. Okay, got it.
it's a strange, I have a strange career because I used to be a writer in Italy, and I published a few books or something like around 8 books and a bunch of other things. But then I started writing in English, and then writing in English these days, all my latest novels, and I published a book with Titan, a novel with Titan a couple of years ago. And then so when I was writing the script, considering that Mario and I spoke Italian, of course we do, but our French editor didn't speak any Italian, and they couldn't write in French. I cannot kind of understand French, but I definitely can't write a whole script in French.
Yeah.
So we settled for writing it in English and then translate it into French before publishing. So it was a strange process.
That's
that's how we could have feedback for the publisher immediately without having to wait for the translation to happen.
That makes complete sense. I mean, I lived in Paris for a year, and it's a common experience, when you're an English person, that your ability to speak Italian, French, German is appalling, and you're surrounded by your fellow Europeans who can all speak English fluently. That's happened to me so many times. So in fact, we're publishing the original manuscript.
I'm not sure that I think that maybe they translated from. I'm not sure. Francesco, did you?
Yeah, they translated it into English again because they worked on the French script. I'm not even sure they knew that the original script was in English, to be honest.
Whoa!
So yes,
That's amazing.
I think they don't forget it. Yeah, because they weren't in touch for that, but they were in touch. I mean, the process was absolutely lovely. But I think they just took it for granted. They was in French. So when they sent me the translation for verification, I saw that it was different from my original script, but it was brilliant. So I was okay with that. But it was clearly translated from French. So maybe at some point there will be a third edition with, I don't know.
That is fantastic, and not the answer I was expecting. I love the maze-like answer way we got to the published edition. So when
it's a maze-like series, so it's a maze-like series, so maze-like answer.
Exactly. when you did your approval edits of that, is there anything you edited to bring more in line with your original English script? Is there any changes that you made, or was it pretty much good to go?
Not one word, to be honest, because the translator did an amazing job, and I know how hard it is to translate. My wife is my official translator into Italian for my novels, so I have seen the process from here, and I would rather not touch somebody else's work if I can help, because there is a kind of an aesthetic unity in the work. So even if there are a few things which I might have made differently, still the translator did an amazing job, so I just respected that.
That's very interesting. That's fantastic. Guys, what would you advise budding writers and artists who are trying to create their own works of fantasy? Is there any advice you would give to people who are at the beginning of their career?
I have two.
Okay.
I have only two, really. The first is, yes, focus on the skill set, learn the skills, learn everything you need to learn, but more importantly, focus on human beings. Focus on observing situations, focus on having something to say. You see a lot of people who are very skilled, who can draw and write brilliantly, but they're not necessarily bringing anything new to the table. And I'm not saying we do, but at least we try. So I think the first thing is have something to say, observe, live a full life, be around people, talk to people who have different opinions from yours, listen a lot, that kind of thing. And second thing is, luck does exist. So you can be extremely good and have bad luck. You can be not very good and have good luck. So when you are slightly depressed, when things are not working out, on the one hand, yes, be critical of yourself because there might be something you're not doing right, but also consider that luck does exist. So sometimes it's just bad luck. It's just bad timing. It's just, not being the right person at the right time. So factor that in, for better or worse.
Yeah. Okay. That's
I agree to that. I will only add one thing, is that at least on the drawing, on the art part, I think it's the same for music, for writing, for whatever you choose to be or to try to do, is that you need to have some kind of an urge to do it. It's a need. and I wouldn't go as far as, you know, there's Rainer Maria Rilke was a poet that received a letter from an admirer, and it is published. It's a letter to a young poet by Rainer Maria Rilke, and this guy asked Rainer Maria what if he thought he was a poet, he could become a poet. And the answer was that basically, if you think you would rather die than stop writing, then you are a poet, and you just need to hone your skills. That's what you have to do, but you already are. So I wouldn't go as far as saying I'd rather die or kill myself rather than not doing it, which is maybe a bit strong. But it's true that it needs to be some kind of an urge. You know, it's like you have to go to pee. You have to. You can't really push it back. You can't hold it. That's what gives you authenticity when you do it. And that's the one thing that really matters when you observe people, when you observe the world around you, when you hone your skills. You need to be authentic, and of course you have to know that you have something to tell. But the first and foremost thing for me is authenticity. That's the one thing you really need.
Guys, thank you very much. I think those are two great, enlightening answers, and authenticity is everything. You know, observation is everything, I think, you know, in life, you know, I mean, so yeah, thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing that with us. We're racing towards the end of our time together, so I've got one final question: is what else can we expect from the Cutting Edge? What is coming next?
After I mean, Cutting Edge is closed as a series. We don't foresee any kind, because I mean the ending is a proper ending. But of course, I and Francesco are talking about working together again, so it will happen sooner or later, definitely.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we're planning things. It's very much at the planning stage, but we are definitely going to do something at some point. Probably science fiction, which is a huge love for both of us.
That would be great.
And we are working on something along those lines.
That was what I was hoping to hear. I realized that you can't always share the details of those things, which makes complete sense. But please come back and talk to us about those projects when they're up and running. We'd love to speak to you guys again. Thanks so much for carving out the time.
Thank you.
Thanks to you.
To chat with us.
Thank you.
And you know, just to the FP audience out there, you've been privileged to watch two of the greatest comic creators in Italy. Francesco Dimitri, the author of the Book of Hidden Things, Mario Alberti, who's super well known for Nathan Never, Legs Weaver, and those beautiful DC Comics covers you do, by the way, mate, which I never even got to ask you about. So it's lovely for you to find the time to speak to us, to talk about Cutting Edge, the Siren Song, which it's published in English by Titan on November the 11th, and you can pre-order it from the link on this interview. Thank you very much, guys. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Andrew.
All the best. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.